Hello, it's Judy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to take you on a furniture tour of my studio. Not an in-depth into all of the various bits and pieces, but just what I have done for furniture and storage solutions so far in my art space. Now, I call this my studio. I don't pretend that I am a professional artist. I dabble and I play. I lived in England for 29 years, and over the course of that 29 years I worked full-time for other people, but in my spare time I crafted and I taught lessons and workshops and all sorts of different things. So over that period of time I accumulated quite a lot of stuff, and when I was in England I had a studio that was 6 meters long by 3.4 meters wide. When we moved back to Australia a few years ago, I was faced with the prospect that I would have to downsize an awful lot of my stuff. So most of what I had in that 6 meter by 3.4 meter studio came with me to Australia, but when we went house hunting, the options were a little more limited. So I have moved into this craft space around, and I've tried to be a little bit more imaginative about some of the solutions that I've used to store all of my, well, not all of my stuff. I have got rid of some stuff and I'm getting rid of more. There is still more to come out of the garage where it's all being stored, and as I slowly sort through that and find places for things, it either comes into the studio or I make the assessment that I'm probably never going to use it again, and I find a way of hopefully responsibly getting rid of that stuff. Bear in mind that not everybody has this stuff. I've been crafting seriously since 2000. I've probably been making stuff all of my life, but I actually think in 2000 was when I started collecting seriously and trying to find storage solutions for all of the various bits and pieces. When it came time for me to start putting things into this space, I went hunting for craft room tours. Art studios don't really fit the bill because most of them are people who dabble in paint and drawing and that sort of stuff, and I don't really do that. I'm far more of a crafter artist than an artist. So I scrapbook. It's probably not one of my big things at the moment, but at one point it was quite a big part of my life, and I hope that it will be at some point again. I make things with resin because it's so much fun to play with chemicals. I formulate lotions and potions. I make most of our own body wash and hand soap and various things like that. Again, it's fun to play with chemicals. And then I make cards, and I've just bought an embroidery machine, and so I'm getting to grips with that. So I do a variety of things, and this space has to be able to accommodate that variety of things. It's not a huge space. It's a granny flat at the rear of our house, and the entire flat, I think on the floor plans, is 5 meters by 2.4 meters. But part of that is taken up with a bathroom, and it has a bathroom and a walk-in robe, and then the rest of it is kind of like a studio space, would be a bedroom come sitting room type thing. It was built by the previous owners, so I've kind of lucked out in finding this space for me to work in. One of the reasons why I've gone ahead and put this video up on YouTube was because a large proportion of the art and craft spaces that I came across on YouTube were not based in Australia. So finding ideas from people who were based in Australia where I could source Australian products or things that were available here. We just don't have some of the stuff that other people have got in other countries, and we have some stuff that other countries don't have. So it was a case of trying to make use of the things that I had around me and the things that were available to me, and I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money. There were a few things that I was prepared to be extravagant on, but other bits I wasn't. So I hope that this is useful to you, to help you if you're trying to find things and you don't have access to a Walmart, Lowe's, Michael's, Joann's, all of those lovely places that we would love to be able to go and shop at, but they are just not available to us outside of North America. So let me show you around my space. As we come into the room, this is the door that leads into the room. It's a wide patio door that looks out onto my little patch of garden. And then, because this was a granny flat, that would have been the walk-in robe. And there's the bathroom. And now I'll just do a kind of quick swing around so that you can get a feel for how the layout of the room works. So one big huge long wall along the back, a short wall with a window in it, and then as we swivel around back towards the door that we came in on, we have another window which lets in an incredible amount of light. So I'm going to concentrate first of all on what would have been the walk-in wardrobe. This isn't a very wide space. It's about 90 centimeters wide and about nearly 150 centimeters deep. So not a very big space, but I hopefully have made it work the way I need it to. I'll give you a more in-depth view. I'm going to roll out those two carts so that you can see what's going on. As you saw, I rolled out two carts from that space. This first one is my heat press cart, and when I'm using it, I simply run a cord across to that power board that you see on the right of the screen there, and I can work with it in the doorway. If you would like to see an in-depth video on how I constructed this unit, then you can have a look. I will put a link in the description or a card up in the corner, and you can go and have a look at that video. It's quite an extensive video. Usually stored in front of it at the moment, I currently have a Raskog type cart. Actually, I think this one is a Raskog from Ikea, but I have yet to determine what's to go into it. So as we walk into the built-in wardrobe, I will switch on the light, and it's going to be very difficult to film because it's quite pokey back here. I have two, they're not actually Kallax units, they are the Flexi Store equivalent from Bunnings, and I needed a bench top on the top of them to stop things from falling down the back and down the end. So I stacked the two on top, and they aren't attached to each other. It's just the weight of everything that's on them is holding them together. At the bottom, I have put some 10 centimeter tall feet on them. Let me see if I can get low enough. And that has raised them enough off the floor for two reasons. One of them, it gives me a little bit of extra storage underneath the unit, which I haven't quite yet utilized yet. But more importantly, the power point for my router is somewhere at the back there, and without the feet on it, it sits right smack bang where a shelf would end, and therefore means that the shelf would stick out too far. Inside, I'm going to call them Kallaxes because that's effectively what they are. Inside the Kallaxes are a bunch of Display Dynamics paper trays, 12 by 12 paper trays, and I bought most of these from a shop that was going out of business. So I have 3 units that have those stored in them, and then the remainder are in this big huge tower. And I'm not very tall, so what I have tucked down the back here is one of those folding stools that I can pull out anytime I want to get anything off one of these. As you can see, as I said in my intro, I haven't yet finished putting things into places. Right, this unit here I got from a hairdresser's, and it was slightly beaten up, so I got it for $50, which is fine. Now, at the moment, there is nothing in categories at the moment. This is just a place for me to use as a dumping and sorting ground, making sure that like is like as I pull things out of my garage. It will eventually be more organised, but at the moment, it's just fulfilling a purpose of giving me somewhere where I can dump stuff without necessarily sorting it out. On the end of these Kallax units, I have a Distress Ink storage shop display that again I picked up from a shop that was going out of business, and at the moment it's got all of my distress oxides on them, and the observant amongst you will have noticed that not many of them are out of their packets because I've only just got them and I haven't had a chance to play with them yet. Right, so moving on from the walk-in robe, we come to what would have been the bathroom in this little granny flat, and I don't use the shower because at the moment it's not plumbed correctly, and I have no need for a third shower in my house, so at the moment it's proving to be a very useful storage cupboard. On the wall here I have some nail polish stands that I got from my local nail salon, and that holds all my pigment powders, my dye inks for resin, alcohol inks, the to dye for inks, for those of you who go back that far, the dimensional pearls, I've got a whole bunch of Lumia pads, there's just a whole bunch of stuff. This is basically the storage for all of my small colourful stuff. On the back wall above the toilet are powders, and ingredients for going into formulations. So at the moment this is still starting up, so I have, you know, kind of like clays and micas and stuff on the bottom, and then I've got butters and waxes and various other bits and pieces, and this is just at the moment it's in the process of being pulled together. I had to get rid of a lot when I left England because there's limits on what you can bring into Australia. At the moment, the shower is proving to be a very useful place for storing tall, large things like these box full of milk bottles that I've bought, and some t-shirts that I have lined up for putting some logos on for my sister's business. I have a nice wash hand basin here, and this is how the room came. Hello. So I'm standing again with my back to the door, and this is my Pax wardrobe system from Ikea. When we lived in England, we lived in a house that had been built sometime between 1810 and 1840 and didn't come with built-in robes. So we had the 3 wooden Ikea wardrobes as in our main bedroom. When the movers transported them out here to Australia, these 3 managed to survive the journey, except you'll notice for the plinth missing off the bottom of the big white one. I have deliberately put the plinth that did survive the journey onto the back of the wardrobe for a bit more rigidity to stop things from going all the way back, and my plan is that I will use that space underneath, because it's nearly 50 centimetres deep. I will use that space for my large portfolio, which I have still yet to find. So when I open up the Pax wardrobes, if you look back at the innards of the wardrobes, you'll see that this one, and this one are all the wood colour. These are the ones that came out of our bedroom in England. And I bought a 4th white one to go on the end here. But I didn't want it to look as though I had just added a white one without any forethought. So this is why in the walk-in robe we have 1 brown flexi store unit and 1 white unit with a wooden top on it, so that it looks as though the white and the wooden was a deliberate choice. It wasn't just me a case of recycling what I already had. You'll notice that inside I've got a wooden shelf in there, and there's a wooden coloured shelf in there, and up the top there, but I've put a white shelf in there and a white shelf there to kind of mix and match that wood and white that I'm trying to use. I'm trying not to waste the stuff. I didn't want to just replace it all because that seemed like an awful waste. Not only that, but the old Paxes are made so much better than the new ones. I've also put wooden doors, the wooden doors that I brought from England on 3 of the doors, and then I bought this white one because they no longer do these wooden ones. I bought this white one to go with. Again, I've mixed and matched it around to try and make it look a little more deliberate than reusing. So let's do the tour of the inside, because this is kind of important as to how this is going to work for me as a craft cupboard. Because I don't have a huge amount of space, I downsized from a considerably larger craft room than this. And so I've lost an awful lot of workbench space, and I didn't have space for all of my various appliances to have them all out. So this is not, the contents of stuff is not the final configuration. I think where the appliances are is, there are things that I need to be able to pull out and use. So this is my photo stamp, my polymer photo stamp UV light. It also doubles up as my light for curing resin pieces in it because it's got a nice big base underneath it. So what I can do is it's all plugged in, ready to go. All I need to do is put my items underneath it, put it down, switch it on, leave it for the bits that when I'm done with it, I can just simply slide it back. Same thing with my switch. This is a new purchase, so I'm still just getting to grips with it. And again, it sits at the front of the drawer so that there's space for the trays to fall out the back. And I can just flip it open like this, use it. When I'm done with it, the plates get stored behind it. The front gets closed, the whole lot gets folded up like that. There is a small shelf underneath it for holding flat things. At the moment, that is the plate for the photopolymer stamp machine. And then I have drawers for storing stuff in. The middle cupboard is a slightly different configuration. There is a fixed top shelf, and that holds, at the moment, it's holding my longer items of vinyl, my longer rolls of vinyl, mostly heat transfer vinyl that is 50 centimeters deep. Then below that is my dye sublimation printer, which is in the process of being set up. And the idea is that if I need to use the scanner, I can just pull it out. Underneath that is a fixed shelf that holds all of my bits and pieces for my mink and some at the moment greaseproof paper that I use for when I'm transporting heat transfer vinyl around. Once I've weeded it, if I leave it stacking on top of each other, they all stick together. Then underneath that we have my major workforce here. In here, this is another one of these pull-out shelves. So this just pulls out and it can come all the way out here, and then my scan and cut and my mink both have plenty of space to dispose stuff down the back of the cupboard. Directly underneath that, I've got another fixed shelf, and that holds all of my mats for my scan and cut. And at the moment, one silhouette mat. I have a silhouette. I have no idea if I'm ever going to use it again. And then underneath that, I've just got 3 drawers for storing stuff in, and then a wire basket at the bottom. Again, what's going to go into that is still to be determined. And then on the final side, we have a mirror image of this first cupboard in here. So fixed shelf, drawer, 2 pull-out shelves. This is my induction hob that I use for formulating on. And then underneath that I have a fixed shelf, which at the moment has my dye sublimation printing paper on it. Again, I have no idea if that's going to stay there, but it seems to be a pretty good place for it at the moment. And then we have, again, 3 more shelves and a basket at the bottom. So that is my wall of packs. At the top, I've just got space for me to storing containers that I might want to use again in the future. Have not yet determined whether or not I'm going to get rid of them. One of the other features of my Pax system is that I have it set up to do this. So when I'm working and I need a little bit of extra light, as we know sometimes the digital cutters don't behave properly if they don't have the right sort of light hitting them at the right angle, I can see what's going on just by putting the lights on. If I'm sitting here at night, I have to say sometimes leaving the doors open and just lowering the lights a little makes it all feel so nice and cozy in here. Right, next to the Pax, I have one of those Alex straw tall boys from Ikea. And again, this was probably what started the whole wood and white mix, because Ikea in Perth were out of stock of these in the white forever, and I just got fed up with waiting for them. I knew I needed something that I could store stuff in, and the wooden one was there, and so I bought it. So this is set on castors, and those two front castors lock if I need them to. But to be honest, I've not yet needed them to. So this pulls out. And what that allows me to do is to store tall things. At the moment, this is 40 metres of calico that I inherited. But it will allow me to store tall items. I need to refix my power board onto the back. And then I have one of these paper units from Ikea that again stores some of the things that I use. I'm actually a bit disappointed in these because they don't hold as much stuff as I'd like them to. I can probably get 50 sheets of paper into one of these maximum, and I need more space. But it works for what it is, as long as I don't put anything in there that I use a lot. So again, these are from Ikea. They're just A4 magazine or paper trays, I think from the office section. Can't remember what they're called. I inherited these from someone. Can't remember who. But they stack neatly on top of each other. They hold a huge amount, reams and reams in each of these shelves. And so at the moment, they're sitting quite nicely on top of this Alex unit, which I can then just roll back into place. And to be honest, most of the time, it just lives rolled back in its space and doesn't come out. Okay, I'm stepping way back so that you can get a good view of how this all works. So let me get it right. This unit here and this unit here at the back are both Billy bookcases. And on the back of them is just some, in the UK they call it Corex, but it's basically corrugated plastic. And I had some for a display. So that's on the back of this one. And I think there is actually still some on the back of that one because in England it faced out into the room. So I was trying to work out how I could make the most use of the space that I have available here, knowing that I needed to store more stuff than I've actually got space for. And I thought about this idea of remembering library stacks and how they had those windy handles that rolled the items. And I thought, oh, that would be really good. Put them on tracks and have them roll up against it. And then I thought, well, hang on a second. What if I want to get in there and get to something? So this is the solution that I've come up with. The two units that are in the middle, I refer to fondly as my Tower of Kallax. And if you would like to see how I built one of those, there is a video on my channel, and again there'll be a link in the description box. They are actually not Kallaxes again. They are the Flexi Store options from Bunnings. There were two reasons for doing that. One of them was that Ikea was forever out of stock because we were in the middle of a pandemic. And the other thing was that I wanted a configuration, and Ikea no longer do the 1x2 Kallax units that make up the top shelf of these 2 units. So I had to go down a different option. I will roll one of them out so that you can see how they are configured. Right, so this is my first Tower of Kallax. We have a 2x2 at the bottom, and the baskets come from Bunnings. The cross units, I believe, come from Ikea. This is the Scordis cabinet. It's actually sold as a Kallax insert, which makes it a bit confusing, and I'm really sorry for my American viewers, but I understand that it is currently not on sale in North America, but it is on sale here. So it comes with some horribly disgusting little plastic door handles, so I have modified them, and it currently holds some of my formulation bits and pieces. These next ones up here are wine racks, and they come from the Flexi Store range at Bunnings. And then these containers fit perfectly into those wine racks, and these I believe are by Box Suite. No, these are from Kmart. God, I love Kmart. How I missed Kmart when I was living in the UK. They're Kmart, and they are, I believe, their description is narrow, long storage, a clear storage, something like that. I'll put a link in the description box so that you can go looking for them. And then on the shelf at the top there, those boxes are by Box Sweden. I've only just got them, and I'm figuring they're actually big enough that I can lift those down. They've got little wheels on the back, so they roll in and out, and they fit quite nicely into the top there. And then in between the 2x2s, so that's the 1 2x2 there, that's 1 2x2 there, in between them there is just a little strip of wood that is 40 millimeters tall that is screwed in. Again, if you've watched that video, you'll see how I've done it, and that leaves me, then I've got another one above here between the 2x2 and the 2x1, and that gives me a long flat space to store slightly larger things that don't normally fit elsewhere. So that's Tower of Kallax 1. Tower of Kallax 2 is slightly different. Right, so this is Tower of Kallax 2. The bottom 2x2 is the same configuration as the other one, with the baskets from Bunnings, and the dividers, I think, I'd like to say they're from Ikea, but I have a funny feeling that they were also from Bunnings. They were from one or the other. Right, so then we have another Kallax insert door with the Scordis on the top, and again we've got more formulation stuff going on in there. These are definitely from Ikea, and they are part of the Kallax inserts, so they fit perfectly, and at the moment they're doing a really good job of storing my vinyl and other things that need to be rolled, because apart from pink and purple, I don't have a huge amount of vinyl at the moment. Pink, purple, white, black, and then on the HTV side I've got a few more varieties, but still mostly pink, purple, black. And then I've got some, these are those silicone dog mats that are very useful for putting underneath resin projects. So then at the top there I have from Kmart, I've got some pot lid, no, they're not pot lid holders, they're magazine or letter dividers from the office supplies section. And they are simply sitting there and holding my various different mats, trays and other things. These two containers are from Officeworks, and they are going to be one for vinyl scraps, one for HTV scraps. And at the moment, all of the various different screws and bits and pieces that I've ever needed to put it together or pull apart any of the items in this room. Right, so if I'm having a day of paper crafting, because this is where most of my paper crafting stuff is being stored, these are my two Billy bookcases that are facing each other. So at the moment, they are still in a work in progress, as everything is in here. And at the bottom, I have some paper trays these came from my mother's house. So these paper trays are currently storing little flat things, anything that's smaller than A4, really. Ephemera, souvenirs, various other bits and pieces. And then I have, in the next two shelves above that, I've got all of my solid coloured cardstock at the moment. Now, remember, I used to run a paper crafting business, so I have quite a lot of solid coloured cardstock. At the moment, this is kind of my ribbon collection, but who knows how that's going to last. And then I put an extension unit on my Billy bookcases because this is where long-term storage stuff is going to go. And there's still some of that to come out of the garage. These are, again, from Kmart in the kitchen section, and 3 fit quite nicely across a shelf. And then these are those, you'll see them advertised everywhere. They're the little spice rack holders that go into cupboards. So I have 6 of those, and I'm thinking of getting a 7th to fill that one, but possibly I might leave that because that's quite handy there. And then I have some drawers yet to fill with stuff. So that's the Billy bookcases when I need to get to them. But when I'm done for the day, the Tower of Kallaxes can roll out into the room while I'm working. And then when I'm done, I can simply just roll them back into place, which is what I'm going to do now. Right, so this is probably my biggest extravagance in this room. I decided I needed a bench that will be strong enough to put up with me dumping things on, screwing things down, hefting. It had to be fairly heavy duty. And I saw that Bunnings had these ultimate storage tool boxes and thought that this would be ideal. Now, again, they're on wheels. So I can roll this away from the window. There's a PowerPoint behind it, but I can pull it out into the middle of the room and I can use it like a proper workbench. The Macintosh belongs to an ex-client of mine and is currently in the process of being repaired. And at the moment, this is where my embroidery machine, which has just arrived, is sitting. And it will probably work mostly from there. But again, it's one of those things that if I need to move it, like everything else in this room, I can reconfigure the room in fairly quick order to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. What I do like about it is that it has some very robust drawers that can hold fairly hefty types of things. I've got a little space down the side there for storing a stool for me to get up. I've got that second one of those folding stools, so if I need to get up to the top of the Billy bookcases, I can do that. So then as we move around, we come to my desk. Now, my desk is a work in progress. There is one more item that needs to go. But before I can actually get going on it, I'm going to show you what I've got here. So what I've got, again, is 2 of the 2x2 flexi store units from Bunnings, the ones that look like Ikea. So this end one here holds my resins. There's a specific reason for me choosing this particular place in the room for my resins. First of all, it's fairly close to my air conditioning unit, which means then that it's going to stay fairly cool. It is out of direct sunlight. At no point at the end of the day does this particular cupboard have sunlight hit it. That's kind of important here in Australia. Sunlight on raw resin will turn it bad. It won't make it go off, but it'll make it go yellow. And I don't particularly want it to go yellow. So I have 2 units. Underneath that, I've got some of these. These are iris cards. Now, I bought these decades ago. I would estimate sometime in 1993, 94. And they, at the moment, are just holding. I need to sort them through, empty them out and decide what they are going to be long-term storage. At the moment, they're still storing the things that I stored in them 25 years ago. So there's some work that needs to be done there. At the moment, my sewing machine lives underneath there when it's not being used, because it actually spends most of its time on the desk being used. I have my Xyron tape maker, and I have 2 of those binder door machines down there. I used to teach, so I have a lot of stuff. I'm trying to work out if I can justify keeping hold of 2 binder doors, which I don't think I can, so I will probably be getting rid of it. Rid of one of them. Now this is good. This is one of the bins from Ikea, and it's designed to be wall mounted in your bathroom. That's really what they're selling it for. So the idea is that you don't have a rubbish bin sitting on the floor in your toilet. What I like about it is I've attached it onto the side of this Kallax here, and I can simply pop it open, dump stuff in it and close the lid. Because it's not sitting on the floor, when I wheel things around the floor, it doesn't get knocked over. Working out to be brilliant. So then this is the end Kallax unit. Again, it's, as I said, it's the Flexi Store unit from Bunnings. And all I've done is I've removed the middle support here, and I've mounted using heavy duty drawer sliders. Now, these are supposed to go on the side of the drawer. So I decided that what I would do was, instead of getting the entry-level drawer sliders, I would go up one and get the ones that were graded for taking heavy weight. And I think these ones are graded for taking 30 kilos each. So I've mounted them underneath a piece of wood, and this whole unit will slide out when I need to use the flatbed. And then when it's done, I can just fold it back. Now, I don't use a scanner that often, so it's not going to be, and quite often if I do use a scanner, I'm using the document feed a bit of it, which means that I probably won't be pulling it out that often. So I figure that these drawer sliders aren't going to get a huge amount of work. But that has just been a game changer for me. I am in the process of ordering a continuous ink system that will go with this printer, so that A, I'm using better inks, and B, I'm not hoeing my way through cartridges. But I believe that it will sit on, probably on this side here, so the whole printer can just move up a little bit, and there will be space for the continuous ink system to be sitting on there. Right. Above my desk, I have this acrylic shelf here. This again came from my local nail salon. She just wanted to get rid of it, so I adopted it. And it's actually perfect for me to put my iPad. I set my iPad up here. When I come in, my phone generally gets dumped here, and anything that I need gets dumped here. But my iPad sits here, and I can sit and do stuff and watch on the iPad. I turn on my Wonder Boom and actually get decent sound out of it. This is a cosmetics holder that came from Red Dot, and I think it was $10, and it's just stuck on with some command hooks, thick sticker things, to hold it onto the wall, and it holds some of my distress brushes and the little foam bits and pieces. Then the other one of those nail shells, this again came from the nail polish people, and this is the stuff that holds the S&S jars. So they're a bit deeper than normal. So I've got my stamp platform on here, a notebook, and then at the moment my most used liquids. So wood glue, Tiger's Grip, and then for some reason gold size Aqua here, undo. You wouldn't believe how much undo I've gone through removing guck off stuff. Behind the Macintosh, I'm just going to stop the video, move the Mac, show you. Right, so behind the Macintosh is a Scordus Pegboard from Ikea, and This is again a thing in progress. So I'm finding that the things that I need the most are isopropyl alcohol and a soap and water solution for adhering vinyl to things, and then my co-cleaning stuff, my distress sprayer because it's such a nice fine spray, and then these are pen holders. They are 3D printed and they simply slide into the Scrapbooking pegboard. Have little hooks that they come with that you fit onto them, and then you decide where you want them to go on your pegboard, and they slot into place and hold quite nicely. They also have, I've got some hooks that are slightly deeper than the Ikea ones for holding vinyl. And then I've got just cups for holding stuff. So on the Ikea, on the Kallax towers, again, I've got 2 more Scrapbooking boards, and they are proving to be incredibly useful. At the moment, I've got this basket hanging off one of the handles, and that is not working for me. Don't do that one. It keeps falling off and it's a pain in the butt. But I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to keep it, and if I'm going to keep it, where am I going to put it? So what is left for me to do in this studio? I've got to do something about this top. The observant amongst you will notice that it is too short for the space. I can't move the table any further this way because my light table is in the middle there, and it descends below by about 5 centimeters or so. So my plan is, the other thing is that this is not a heavy duty enough surface. You can see it's already scuffed and mucky and disgusting. So my plan is I am going to remove the light box, and I'm going to do the entire surface of the craft desk in resin, in white resin. Once that's all cured, then I will cut myself a river down the middle here, down this section here, and move this section out so that it is on the edge here, which will leave me a gap of about that wide, somewhere around about here, which I will then fill with resin, probably purple, knowing me. Once that's all cured and I've now got a table that is resined, that is the length that I need it to be, I will then do a stone coat countertops layer of clear resin over the top of all of it except the light box, to seal in all of that resin and turn it into one big huge solid lump, and then it will be returned in here and will hopefully fit the space if I've done my job right. What else do I have to do? I have another Scrapbooking pegboard that will be going in this space above where the heat press is, and that will store some of the vinyl that I have over on the other side, because I need more space. The other things that need to happen in here is I need to get someone in because it looks as though the shower isn't sealed. So if anyone has a shower in here, the room floods, and that's a problem. And then this is the pocket door for the toilet, but I can't get the door shut, so I have no privacy if I need to use the loo. The other thing is that the toilet is not very well attached to the floor. The previous owners didn't finish the job of moving in here, and the door jamb needs to be finished both here and on the edge of the walk-in robe. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I hope that you have enjoyed this tour, this furniture tour of my craft space. I know I digressed a little bit and went into a little more detail on places than I'd originally planned, but I hope that it's given you some idea of the things that you might be able to accomplish in your space, however big or small that is. I would really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out with the algorithms on YouTube to get my channel a little more noticed. And I hope to be able to continue to create more content that is interesting and that you will come back and enjoy more of it. So until the next time, thanks for watching. Bye.